Hey, are you a business owner, entrepreneur, or professional? If so, we want you to apply to be a featured guest on our show. My name is Adam Torres, and I host the Mission Matters series of podcasts. I've recorded over 3,000 episodes, and we are just getting started. How do you know if you'd be a good guest to be on the show? Well, only one way to find out, and that's to apply, but I'm going to let you in on a little secret. We want guests that have a story to tell, guests with a brand, a product, or a service that can benefit my audience of listeners. If this sounds like you, go to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. I'd love to talk to you and get to know more about your story. Again, head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, now let's get into the show. Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and you can follow me on Instagram at Ask Adam Torres. And if you'd like to apply to be a guest on the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today I have Debora Gemmell on the line, and she's founder and integrative life coach at Thrive Wellness Solutions. Debora, welcome to the show.
Hello.
Oh my gosh. So excited to have you on the show today and to learn more about Thrive Wellness Solutions and really how you're helping your clients. And you have, 6 keys that I'm not going to do the spoiler right now, but we're going to go into 6 keys that you use on a daily basis when you're helping your clients and kind of how you got on that journey. So let's just get started the way we start all our shows with the Mission Matters Minute. So Debora, we at Mission Matters, we amplify stories for entrepreneurs, executives, and experts. So that's our mission here. Debora, what mission matters to you?
That's a great mission. So the mission for me is that I help professionals resolve their unhappy and unhealthy habits that, just cause them to not live, or have the life that they really want to have. And it's through that experience. It's different for everybody. But it's amazing once you kind of cut back the main stuff, we're all pretty similar inside. So it is something that I really get a lot of goosebumps when I'm coaching people. And it really is truly a passion of mine based on my own experience and my own journey. And it's a very heartfelt something that I try to do every day.
It's awesome. Love bringing mission-based entrepreneurs, executives, and experts onto the show to talk about why they do what they do. And let's go further. So you call yourself an integrative life coach. We'll go into that and exactly what that means. But I want to know, who is Debora? How did you get to this point to Thrive Wellness Solutions?
It was a bumpy start, but so let's say 10 years ago, 12 years ago, I was a 30-year smoker. I wasn't sugared every meal. I was probably about 45 pounds overweight. I had no willpower, massive anxiety, and I didn't do anything about it because I knew I had no willpower. So I just didn't really ever bother doing it. And so I just kept doing that, had no idea that, all the bad food I was eating was fueling the that I had. I got really good at putting the game face on. So if you met me, I was in the corporate world for 30 years. If you met me, I looked like I had it all together. I was really good at that. But inside, I was terrified most of the time. And I have a funny story that I was in a meeting in one of my corporate jobs, and a client had come in, and he's a 6'5" football player. And, we had the meeting. And what a lot of us do when we're nervous is we get a bit of a guard up. And that was sort of how I coped with things. And so him and I, his name was Sinatra, him and I became friends after, and we're out having a drink one night. And he's like, Deb, I got to tell you, that first time I met you, I was afraid of you. So, here's me, 5'3", 120 pounds in here. But that was just how I showed up because I had so much anxiety. So I was a bit of a guard. And so I ended up, that is not sustainable. I also was always in super stressful jobs. I garnered a lot of my self-esteem and my self-worth from exterior things, like my job performances, people telling me that I was doing a good job because I didn't have a lot of my own. And so it was through that process, as I said, not sustainable at all, that by the time I hit my early 40s and was in a very unpleasant, toxic office environment, I hit the wall and I ended up getting sick. And unlike other people, and one of the reasons why I do what I do is because I want to get people to be proactive about their well-being, wait till their back's up against the wall like I did. No choice. I had to do something about it. I had all kinds of digestive and stomach issues. Had no idea what to do, had no idea where to start. I was afraid. And so that led me on about a 4.5-year journey of trying to figure all of that out. Super messy, lots of falls, lots of slips, lots of learnings, but did eventually figure it out. And when I finally did that, I thought, wow, if I can help people not go through that and be able to get where they want to be in a much shorter period of time, then that's what I want.
Amazing. And what's amazing is that you went, through that 4+ year transformation, really, to get to this point, and to get to that point, I should say. So that being said, and we'll go, I want to go further into your process, but maybe before we do that, some people are maybe watching this right now, and you might have hit a little bit of a nerve there. Like maybe they haven't started that journey, or maybe they haven't even really considered it. They may have saw this video randomly and they're like, what's this? Right? What kind of advice would you give to somebody that maybe hasn't made the choice to start that journey yet?
Well, I think ideally, my interpretation of what it was, this huge mountain that I had to climb that was going to be absolutely impossible. What I know to be true now, and what I coach people through, is that we do it in just little baby steps. It's more important to be consistent and compound the little tiny things we do every day to get the results versus, what most of us do, which is problem, fix it. And we just try to do that. And of course, a year later, we're back where we were and we're trying to scratch our heads figuring out why that happened. So I think the biggest thing is to recognize that it doesn't have to be this huge thing, that if you break it down into day-to-day that you do, just small little changes, it actually becomes really doable.
Amazing. You refer to yourself as a vegan with a side of bacon. When I read it brings this smile to my face, other than the fact that it's just an amazing way to refer to yourself. Like, what does that mean?
So I created that because I needed a way to describe what I do and what I believe in. And what I believe in is that every one of us is different. That is trying to fit in, these different boxes. I'm not going to eat carbs. I'm going to be on the paleo. I'm going to be a vegan. I'm going to be a vegetarian. The fact of the matter is all of our bodies are different. And, so I do best when I don't eat a lot of meat, but I'm not giving up bacon. I'm Canadian. So I'm going to keep eating bacon. So what I want people to know is that it's okay. It's better you find out what works best for your body than try to fit in all these little boxes that we seem to always like to put ourselves in. And, it's empowering to be able to do that. And so that was literally when I described myself, it just came out of my mouth in a restaurant. And I've seen people where I've been in restaurants and, I am allergic to cow milk. I'll be in a restaurant and I'll ask for something, some nut milk, but then I'll order bacon. And I see the judgment. I just want to empower people to, just do what works for you. Don't worry about boxes. Don't worry about what anybody else thinks. Just find what is going to help you be the best version of you.
It's awesome. So I love it. So let's go further into Thrive Wellness Solutions. So we kind of approached the topic, but I want to go further. So first off, maybe just tell us a little bit more about the company.
Right. So after I did finally figure out my stuff and was to feel a whole lot better, one of the things that happened was when I started to eat the things, I found out that I couldn't lose weight that I ever really tried was because I actually had inflammation. Inflammation because I was eating things like dairy that my body just couldn't digest really well. One of the things that happened that when I started to do the things that my body needed, no focus, I never owned a scale, had no idea what I weighed. The next summer, when I went to put my summer shorts on, I had gone from a size 12 down to a size 6. Wow. And it was purely by changing what I was eating. I had no focus on my weight at all. It was really trying to get my stomach fixed. So I realized again that, if we do what our body needs us to do, it will respond. It's super smart. And so one of the things of creating Thrive Wellness Solutions was really to help people discover their journey and discover what's going to work best for them, give them a place to support that. Some of it, a tiny part of it is food, but I know, as a wellness coach, that food is actually a symptom for most people. When we're going to the fridge at 10:30 at night, definitely done that. We're eating too many carbs, too many sugar, definitely done that.
I should raise my hand too. Me too.
Yeah.
You're not alone.
There's something underneath. And so I wanted to be a place where people could actually come and discover what that was for them in a way that is supportive and as a gentle and small steps, and to really go past what the food is. So the why, and go in underneath the relationships, our stress at work, our lack of, purpose to live, and all that, which I know we'll get into in a bit. But
what, and I don't know if there's a single one, or if there's multiple, but what are some of the major blocks that you see that are kind of keeping people back from living their best lives?
That's a great question. So the most common thing I see in the people I coach, and I coach all kinds of people from around the world, different lifestyles, different nationalities. Mm-hmm. Most common things I see is fear. And that's fueled by underneath what I call the foundation of, believing we're not good enough.
Yeah.
And I definitely had that, and still on occasion it pops up. And so it is that limiting belief that we have, that we're not good enough, that we have the tendency to compare our insides to other people's outsides. So if you had been comparing yourself to me when I was in the corporate world and I had my whole game face on, you would have seen what you thought was a very confident person. But if you hadn't seen my insides, they were really scared. It's just a lesson to know that that's actually not true. And, comparing, already we're losing when we start doing things like that. But those are kind of the habits we start forming when we're sort of in that space.
No, I see that, and it makes total sense. What are some of the tools, like the tools that you kind of equip, and not to oversimplify, of course, but what are some of the tools or examples of the tools that you use to equip your clients and through this process?
So it really is about each person. So in my private coaching, it is highly personalized to each person. There's no, dot the lines. We go down literally what.
Not cookie cutter.
Yeah. What is, happening for them, and as it evolves process. So some of the lessons I've learned that I know my clients have found really helpful is quit taking it personal. So just try to see if I have any Q-tips here. So that I literally make them put these on their desk, but it is quit taking it personal. We often take what other people do or say or respond or act to do with us. Most of the time, it has nothing to do with us. We take it personally, it makes us react. And then it just causes this whole thing in relationships where you're reacting, they're reacting, and it just becomes this thing. As we start to gain confidence and build self-esteem at the foundation, I call it kind of like it meets in the middle, then they're able to start recognizing and slowing down and realizing that actually a lot of this stuff doesn't have anything to do with them. It's just their perception of what was happening, and they took it personally. So that was a huge one for me when I learned that, and certainly have seen the benefits of that with my clients. And I think then the other one is just going slowing down. Like how many of us, I definitely did, I was always just skipping over the water. And, that was my anxiety, right? It allowed me really to stay still for too long a period of time, let alone, God forbid, be alone for a period of time. So just learning, again, as you go through the healing process, to start learning to slow down and pay attention to what's going on. And instead of reacting to something that you slow enough and you start going, okay, wait a minute, really have anything to do with me? Or are they just reacting to their own stuff? And I have to react. And then we can choose how we respond, and improves our relationships, decreases our anxiety, and just, has a huge amount of benefit for us. And again, something that I've seen client after client again and again really benefit from.
So I know that your framework, whether it's the one-on-one coaching, or we'll also talk about some of the other coaching that you do, is really based around some of the things that you've learned and 6 key areas. Can you tell us a little bit more about the areas and why you found them important?
Yes. So I actually created these myself based on my own experience and what I've seen in clients. So everything starts off with our why, why we do what we do. why do you want to get help? Why do you want to improve your life?
Mm-hmm.
Why are we not doing the things that we know we need to do? So a lot about the why, and then of course into your passion of, what makes you happy? What is the thing that you really want to make happen? Tapping into that. So that's the very first thing. And again, that's not something where you sit down and say, oh, I'm going to figure out my why today. And you're ready. In the course, my clients it's taken them on a journey. And, they've never really thought about it before. So it's something that evolves as you go, even mine, and I'm sure yours has evolved as we've gone on. And then after our why becomes self, so digging into our self-esteem, our self-confidence, our self-boundaries, how we show up in personal relationships, all that kind of stuff. And then we get into health and food, of course. As I said, I discovered that the food I was eating, the high carb and high sugar, were actually fueling my anxiety, and then health, our sleep, our exercise, and everything sort of centered around that. Then we get into career, because for a lot of people that can be a major amount of stress. Also for me, because I had no self, so career was my self-esteem. So the problem is when we do that, when we don't get that happening, our self-esteem hits the floor. So anything around that, and then gaining tools on how to cope and manage better in the environment that we're in. It doesn't mean you have to leave your job. There might be things, just your own perception changing might start to change things. Mm-hmm. Then we get into relationships, which of course is, pretty well known that the number one thing that makes us the happiest is the quality of our relationships in our community. And, what we receive, but also what we give. And then the last thing, which I call happiness, is, what do you do every day or every week that fuels your smile? And it's amazing to me when people come to me and they're not feeling great and they're not doing the best they can. And then I ask them, what do they do? And they've just completely forgotten about all of that.
Wow.
And they'll often say, oh, I go to the gym. I'm like, nope, doesn't count. That's back in that category. Truly, music, languages, art, whatever, dance, surfboarding, whatever it is you want to do. That makes you smile and to start to bring that back into your life.
So I know every process, as you mentioned, is going to be a little bit different. Every client, everybody's going to be in a different spot of their journey overall as they're kind of going through those 6 key areas, so to speak, that you developed. So what does the process look like? What does it look like as somebody goes on that journey with you as a coach, which by the way, I look at it as a journey every time you're working with a new coach. It's like you are starting a new journey. So what does that look like? What does that look like to work with you?
So the first thing I do, because the number one thing that is most important when you're working with a coach or frankly anybody is the fit. To see that my insides are similar to your insides, that my experience is similar to your experience. And so I do that by offering a 30-minute complimentary discovery call. And that's just a chance for, the person and I to meet me, to learn more about what's happening with them, and to see for both of us that it's a mutual fit. And then from there we go on. I will take a look at, goals and the circle of life and the 12 area wellness to sort of see where they're at. From there, it becomes a very highly customized journey for each person. Because of course, during a coaching program, which is typically anywhere from 3 months or beyond, stuff will come up, life will happen, a bad day at work will happen,
Yeah.
So we take that stuff on too, because in my opinion, they're all lessons for us to learn. Everything is an opportunity for us to practice and learn and get stronger at what we want to do and take the tools that we're learning in the coaching and apply them in our day-to-day life. And so really what I say to my clients is the weekly coaching calls, check-ins, and then we go deeper into things. But then throughout the week, it's their job to go and practice what they've learned. So if, the Q-tip, quit taking it personal, it's their job throughout the week to keep practicing, because I know that's how we really change. It's not in that coaching session. They get the tools there, but it's going out in our everyday and bringing, applying it and practicing it. That's how we really start to change. And that's the small little steps that I was talking about earlier that compound. And then after 3 months, people will be like, and myself included, wow, 3 months ago, I would have totally reacted to that differently. And look, I didn't get upset. I just saw it was their stuff. I didn't need to worry about it, and I moved on. And so it's kind of like a bit of a gift when those little small things start to collect, and then we start seeing ourselves changing.
And so I know that you've also expanded. And so now you also have the Evolution of You program, so that, you can also reach a wider audience and help more people and provide more value. So tell us more about that program.
Yeah, so one of the things I wanted to do as a coach was, to create and reach as many people as possible that want help. And private coaching isn't for everybody. Mm-hmm. And so I created the Evolution of You online course that's got 6 modules, the topics that we've covered, as a chance for them to either do it at their own pace on their own. Mm-hmm. They can level up, as we say, in coaching, and join the live weekly coaching with me to get accountability and responsibility, and be part of a program and a community with people that are on a similar journey as them. Mm-hmm. And truly did that so that I could make well-being and self-improvement more accessible to more people, regardless of where they are.
Have you received back, I should say, from the Evolution of You coaching program?
Yeah, I've gotten really good feedback from it. It does go into detail. Things go at each person's pace, which was something that everybody really hated. So you'll, have the 6 modules, but then you get double the time to keep going in case you didn't get it done. And really just the opportunities to take a look at this and, look in the areas that I guide them through that they never really thought about before. Most people come in and they're like, my why? Yeah. My company's got a why. I don't have a So just things that we, have never thought of, looking at our grudges and our resentments that we're holding on to that, keep us down, any guilt that we're carrying around. So really going into the things that are holding us back and giving people an opportunity to do the exercises to begin to start seeing that stuff and start letting it go.
I don't want to glance over this part, like the live coaching calls and the weekly, like the accountability side of things. Like, tell me why that's so effective and why it works.
Well, partly because I know myself. Like I said, I have a coach, and I find being a part of a coaching community, having mentors, the other coach, all of that is really valuable. And I learned so much. I was just on my call this morning, and funny enough, they're in LA. But they, just to be able to be part of a community. And so when you're in live group coaching, there's 10 people in the room, and somebody may ask the very question that you've been afraid to ask. Yeah. Without having to be on the hot seat, so to speak, you actually get to listen. And what we discover in group coaching is that we're not a lot different than everybody else. And we can do that just sitting and watching what happens, discovering that. And that in itself is a whole new thing, because a lot of the things we talk about aren't things that, you sit down at the dinner table with your family and start talking about. So it really just does open things up for people to know that they're not that much different than everybody else. And everybody's got something, no matter what they look like or what they're doing, going on, that they want help with.
That's awesome. And I'm a big fan of accountability calls, especially weekly, and on the homework and having time. And then the self-paced part, I think, is huge too, because maybe some people are having want to focus more on one particular area than another. Like that why one, I mean, that's a big one. Like that's a big one, especially if someone's never really considered the thought of like why they do what they do, or that there has to be like, that's a heady one if you've never gone through that. And I go through it. I go through that one often myself. I'm like, why again, Adam? So that's always a self-reflection one on me. But then the idea on the self-pace though, is that you being able to take your time and really focus in on some things. I feel like you get more out of it that way sometimes, like when you can really be one with the material.
Yeah, totally agree.
That's awesome. So Debora, I mean, I know you have a lot going on here between the one-on-one coaching, between now the new online program, the weekly calls. I mean, all the things you're doing. I mean, what's next? I mean, what's next for you? What's next for the company?
So what next is to launch on Sunday, October 24th, the live group coaching for the Evolution of You. So that's the next immediate thing. And to really just, get out there and be able to connect with people and serve, whatever that looks like, and to continue to generate and grow the impact on improving people's lives. I say that what I do and what many coaches do should actually be taught in school. It's not like we grow up, especially for those that have grown up in somewhere that was dysfunctional or there's addiction or any kind of those things. It's not we turn 16 and, you can get your driver's license. Somebody also says to you, hey, here's your adult living tools, to live by as kids don't really work so great when you're an adult. So it never happens. So we end up just like myself, in our 20s, 30s, and 40s, realizing that our survival skills or our skills from then just don't work anymore. And in fact, they're hindering us. Mm-hmm. So it really is all about learning to upgrade where we're at and going forward. I always say to my clients, no matter where they've come from or what's happened, that from this day forward, you have a choice to live a different life. You can't change what's happened in the past, but from you can decide from this day forward what is going to happen and what you're going to do and how you're going to show up.
Amazing.
It's just amazing.
Amazing. So Debora, last question, two-part question. So number one, I know there's a lot of people watching this right now, and some of them are going to want to follow up and to connect with you and your team. And so I want you to provide them a way to do that. And then number two, I know you're also offering, I believe, a complimentary discovery session. So how do our viewers take part in that as well?
So there's a couple of ways. They can either reach out to me at an email, which is contact@coachingwithdebora, no H on Debora. So contact@coachingwithdebora.com. They can visit my website, which is thrivews.ca. Those are probably the two best places to get me. And on my website, there's a booking link to book into the complimentary discovery call right at the header of the first page. So they can do that. And, we always learn something no matter whatever we do, if it's just learning what coaching is or a little bit more about what, you could do with it. I'm just happy to be able to do that for anybody that is interested.
So exciting. I mean, great stuff today, Debora. And it really has been a pleasure to learn more about your story, those 6 areas that you're helping your clients go through. And I mean, just even that first one, the why, like if we can figure some of these things out, like it makes a big difference in our lives. And then expanding to now offer the online side of things. I mean, you are a busy, busy woman. I'm happy that you came on the show today. And so first want to say that. And then to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. Hope you learned a lot. If you did, don't forget, especially if you're a first-time viewer, like hit that subscribe button. We have many more mission-based entrepreneurs and organizations and businesses coming on, and we don't want you to miss a thing. And Debora, thanks again. It has been a pleasure working with you today.
I loved it. Thank you so much for having me.